What's going on, Whisper Nation, and welcome into the show. This is the Thursday night football preview show, and I am joined here by Austin Sear. You can find him on Twitter at Austin_R_Sear. You can find myself on Twitter at BigTravyTFW, and we are rocking it for the Fantasy Whispers today. Isn't that right, Austin? We're doing it.
Yes, sir, man. I'm so excited for this game. So excited to have Whisper Nation in here, man. We got 10 folks y'all in there. We got Oscar the Grouch coming in with a super chat. We're going to hit you with that in just a second. Eagle Fang, Slim Reaper, Jared, Jersey J. What's good? Easy Daddy from earlier up in Canada, man. I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be here with you. I'm stoked to be here with Whisper Nation. I'm stoked that we got football tonight. Like the stoked time, dude.
I mean, this is great. This is the best day of the week, obviously, as far as the ramp up for fantasy football, because we get that little bit of the taste. We've talked about the Thursday night thirst before. We've talked about all these things that we're going to get into. As you guys know, we will get through the game, the New England Patriots versus the Atlanta Falcons here on this Thursday night matchup. We're going to talk about the start-sit implications within the game tonight. But also, if you like fresh fantasy football content, you want more of it, hit the like button on your way in. We're trying to get this video up to 50 likes. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Join Whisper Nation as we continue to give you daily content each and every single day. But before we get into the show, we like to start off with a little bit of a question. This one's a little bit more of a philosophical one. And guys, I see you in the chat. We will get to you, I promise. We're going to get those fired up here, especially Oscar the Grouch. I can't wait to give him that Ric Flair woo. But Austin, I wanted to ask you, as we get into the playoff push, we've talked about it all week, 4 weeks until most of these leagues are getting into the playoffs. What's something you can advise Whisper Nation? Because this is the grind right here. You're either in or out right now. You're maybe muddled up. Maybe you're a couple games out. What is something you've deployed, either tips, tricks, or inspiring words to yourself and Whisper Nation in this final stretch?
Sure. So two dynamics here. We talked a little bit on the previous episode with Stepmom Lauren about if you're in a dog shit situation, for lack of a better expression, where you're, maybe one win, no wins in, maybe your fantasy playoff hopes are out, right? And what do you do in that situation? Well, the answer to that one was to lean into a different identity. There are so many opportunities to have fun within the fantasy football world outside of winning. And I know it's a little contrary to what the normal philosophy in this game is, because it's so winning and dominant and betting oriented. It's so binary, but here at the Fantasy Whispers and in our league of record, the thing that really keep us coming back is the people, and it's the community, and it's the connection you have and the ability to talk smack or have a celebrate or whatever it might be, So leaning into other identities and finding other ways to have fun within the context of your league is my advice for those who are not focused on winning fantasy football games. But that wasn't exactly your question, Trav. Your question here was about how do you keep the grind going? Maybe you're a couple games behind 500. Maybe you're more than a couple. Maybe you've got a serious hill to climb, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, to go on a month of winning, win 4 more, get yourself in a nice playoff spot where all the rules are out the window and it's a 0-0 record for everybody. So on that, Travi, it's actually the best time of the year to get a resurgence, because your league mates are getting complacent. Your league mates are feeling the weight of 11 weeks of fantasy football. Maybe half of your league has more losses than wins, and that sucks, and it hurts. And that means they might not be picking up opportunities. They might not be thinking about, is this running back still going to hold the job? You know what I mean? Like a Mike Davis who had been slipping, and you're like starting to look at other opportunities for early down backs. Rhamondre Stevenson was a guy who was available in a lot of leagues, after he was a healthy scratch, after he came up. And it's like that kind of pickup where you can find opportunities
it's almost
that are available.
I like how you said complacency there. It's almost like we get in this situation where they're 7-3, or they only have 2 losses or 1 loss, and they're saying we got to just play our studs. We don't need to do anything. They're not adjusting. They're not being like water as much. So I do like that breakdown there that you're saying there, Austin. Anything else to add to that point?
The last piece there would really just be about stay active. It's just leaning into that, because guys are going to pop off. They always do every year at the end of the season that become high-end wide receiver 2, high-end RB2s that we didn't even speak their name up until the 3rd month of football. So stay active, stay with it, stay with the Fantasy Whispers, because we're going to be going all the way through till the end of the season.
And stay with that super chat, because as you know, Austin, if you give us the super chat, we got to hit you with a Ric Flair. Woo!
Thank you very much.
I like this one. It's got a little yeah. He's got a little yeah at the end. He's good.
right?
It's a little
And then,
crazy. Yeah.
woo!
I
And then he
mean,
gets. I like to try to do it with him as he
yeah,
does it.
no,
So
I notice you're better at that than I. I just get so excited to do it. I jump it. So Oscar the Grouch, though, asking Austin if Tony bounce back is up this week. If you like Kadarius Toney on that Monday night against Tampa Bay, where we know, basically they're going to have to throw in that game. That's what happens against Tampa Bay.
I like Tony as like if I like sneakers. Tony would be the sneaker that I really enjoy putting in the case and putting up on my mantle. It's not really the shoe that I want to wear, though, if that makes sense, because Tony's upside, skill set, highlights are incredible. And I think he's going to have a bright future. The Giants, though, I don't know how bright their future will be. I don't know how bright Daniel Jones's future is. And the offense and the quarterback are necessary pieces for Tony to have a good game. And they're inconsistent. There's a lot of variables and challenges ahead. It's still a rookie. He's had up and down ailments. I can't rely on Kadarius. I just can't until I've seen more games strung together. He's like a he's like a
still
typical
a stash,
flex.
and I think that was a nice comparison about the shoe on the mantle, because you're stashing it. You're not doing much with it. You're not selling it just yet. You're not wearing it just yet. It's definitely somebody you're stashing away. So I would agree with that. Guys, if you want all your questions answered in that kind of manner, hit us with that super chat. You know what the drill is, but we will get to these questions as soon as we work through this Thursday night matchup here. We're going to start Atlanta hosting the New England Patriots here. It's a 47.5 point over. New England coming in after a beatdown of Cleveland is 7-point favorites in this game. And you alluded to Rhamondre Stevenson at the top there, Austin.
Yeah.
But Damian Harris is now back from the concussion, fully cleared, no injury designation. And now these backs in a heavy road favorites will go up against an Atlanta team that's a pretty good matchup. What's your outlook for this backfield in this particular matchup?
We got to provide a little bit of context looking at this because it's important. And Rhamondre Stevenson, the rookie halfback for the New England Patriots, had his hands down best game of the season last week as he was able to escape concussion protocol. But Damien Harris, his fellow halfback, was not. They were both injured there in week 9 against Carolina. Rhamondre Stevenson was active and took 20 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also caught 4 out of his 5 targets. So he's involved there. Damian Harris, though, has been predominantly the lead back, and he's healthy now. It's a concussion that he was working through. So I see this as kind of a binary situation. It's not like an ankle injury where they're going to be active, but probably 85%. No, you are cleared from concussion protocol. You are ready to go. And Damian Harris has done well this season, Travi. He's the 8th best halfback in terms of rushing grades per Pro Football Focus, top 10. Now, Rhamondre Stevenson's no slouch. He's number 18. So the New England Patriots have a good situation on their hands. My concern with it, though, is I think we're honestly in a transition period, and I'm nervous about Bellatrix. And I want to ask you about this, Trav, because you've helped write my opinion a little bit on the Bellatrix. You know, it's a common, fun little thing we like to throw out there, being like, I don't know who can predict Bellatrix, right? But you have alluded and provided some more insight, breaking it down, being like, actually we can discern this. We can crack into what Bill Belichick's game plan is likely going to be. And you've been fairly accurate. Now, my concern with it now, though, and let me set you up because I do want to get your take here on this one, is about Stevenson coming off a really good game. We talked about how well Damian Harris's rushing grades have been. Rhamondre Stevenson's not far behind, but I'd argue that Rhamondre Stevenson offers more ceiling in terms of the physical capabilities. He's a bigger back. He has more ability in that sense, physical-wise. Damian Harris is just a really good runner. So I think it behooves them to get Stevenson more and more involved, both for the future, but also for the future of this season. But Damian Harris has been really, really good. And now they're both active, and Stevenson had his best game of the season last week. So my prediction is that I think Harris still keeps the lion's share of the carries, but it's a closer divide than it has been leading up, with maybe Rhamondre taking the work over as the season progresses. But for this week, going up against Atlanta, it's a pretty darn good matchup. I'm leaning Harris, but I'm tempering those expectations with the idea Stevenson's going to take more work over.
Yeah, look, here's the deal. Stevenson, I think it was John Daigle for NBC Sports had tweeted out that Rhamondre Stevenson, after the update from Damian Harris, went from the number 1 waiver wire priority to the number 1 waiver wire priority. Like, I don't think that changes. I don't think the outlook changes on Stevenson. He's a good stash. He's a good rest of season outlook guy. But let's not be, like too cute about this. 15 or more carries for Harris in 3 of his last 5 games. He scored in 5 of those games. Like, he scored in every game. So he is the goal line back. And you're like, well, that can't be sustainable, right? Well, it is when you're getting the volume on the ground in a run-heavy offense for a team that lacks other weapons really in the passing game. And I think that's why Stevenson still has allure, but Harris is the lead back in a 7-point favored game here. New England, you should be starting Harris, in my opinion, because he's the best bet to score. Now, Stevenson still has the ability to poach goal line work, and here's the bigger thing. He's the better receiving prospect. This team is without James White, and like I said, it lacks weapons in the passing game, or at least elite weapons in the passing game. And so I think Stevenson could see some of the James White role down the stretch if he can continue to block well, and if he can continue to not fumble the football. That will be the big thing. But they drafted this guy because he was a good fit for their system. He's shown that he can be a good fit in times for the system, but we shouldn't write off Damian Harris. I know this is a lot to say, basically a non-answer, but I think the answer is Damian Harris. He's your lead back, and then be stashing Rhamondre Stevenson, right?
And I'm in that fire. I got both of them in our league of record. I started Stevenson last week. I'm going to start Harris this week, but Rhamondre Stevenson is my playoff I expect to be starting Rhamondre Stevenson in the playoff time. We will wait and see, though.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good situation, and this game's gonna tell us a lot, because we should get positive game script, and we should know if we can get an extended receiving role out of Rhamondre. I want to talk a little bit about the wide receivers, because we've seen a little bit of a flash from Kendrick Bourne, and Jacoby Myers also got his first touchdown last week, right? So I'm a little bit worried about Jacoby's lack of volume, right? Over the last couple of weeks, only 8 targets, 5 catches, just under 60 yards. Yes, he scored. Johnny would like to tell you that the floodgates are opening for Jacoby Myers, and
only 4 targets,
right? But only 4 targets last week, and so that there could be positive regression based on the yardage to touchdown ratio that he has suffered from. But I wouldn't want to count on it in this one. We look at Bourne, also suffering from the low volume, only 8 targets himself in the last 2 weeks. Last week was his first time in the last 3 weeks that he eclipsed 10 PPR points. So for me, I'm fading both of these guys, even though it's a great matchup for them, because CD just torched these guys from the slot for 2 touchdowns. This is a weird Thursday night game, though, and I really think like the backs and Hunter Henry are going to be my only advised play here. I think Stevenson in a desperation situation where like you need a desperate flex through the passing game could happen. I'm not banking on it, but Hunter Henry here. Look, the floor is god-awful, but that's the case for every tight end. We've seen that throughout the history of tight end, and especially this year. But it hasn't mattered, because if they're not running with the running backs here in New England, they're throwing to Hunter Henry in the red zone, and that's what they do. He's failed to score in only 1 of his previous 7 games, Austin. He's a top 5 tight end on touchdown equity alone. He needs to be locked in your lineup against Atlanta. Despite their middle-of-the-road defense against the position, Henry is the red zone, one of the sole red zone threats for this offense.
Let me ask you, I wanted to ask you about this one, because we talked a little bit about Hunter Henry, but honestly, I don't think the industry's spoken enough about Hunter Henry, considering he's a number 3 in standard, number 4 in PPR. Right. We talk a lot about those touchdowns. And it's crazy, right? How little opportunity he's really gotten. He hasn't gotten more than 4 targets going back to week 5. So we're looking at over a month of football with just 2 targets, 4 targets, 3, 4. You know what I mean? It's not a lot. But in week 5 there, he did have 8 targets and 6 catches, 75 yards for a season high. I'm wondering if he's actually got positive regression from the targets and yardage upcoming.
Right. And so it's almost like as if his floor could heighten over the last few weeks, and his ceiling could come down a little bit, maybe because of he'll still have some touchdown upside. He probably scored a little too many touchdowns to start this year. But I like what you're saying there, because there's as Mack Jones improves, this offense only goes up in the passing game, and he has improved.
Exactly.
So I agree with that take, and it kind of segues nice to Mack Jones here. Recently looked solid, but he's not posting the strongest fantasy football numbers. He's only eclipsed 20 fantasy points in 1 game this year. Last week he hit 19, so he was close, but he's just not being asked to full out win the games for the Patriots, and they're fine with what he's doing, because he's obliging them and throwing to the backs, throwing to the tight ends, and just getting down the field and scoring. He has a decent shot to make it this week, though. his second game over 20 points. Atlanta has allowed the third most points per game, averaging 21.5 points led up to QBs. Now, there are other streaming options I like a little bit better, but Mack Jones does make the streaming radar in this game. It's a near 48-point over-under. Obviously, they're favored, and I think Atlanta's just been so porous on defense, you could do a lot worse. We move to the Atlanta side of the ball. It looks like, basically on the report this week, that Cordarelle Patterson is going to be a long shot to play. Austin, the ankle it could be a high ankle. They're not reporting very well on this, but we know that he's probably not going to play. We saw Wayne Gallman get involved last week. We saw Mike Davis shrink over the last month. Can you put your thumbprint on this backfield, and is it a game that you'd be trusting anybody in?
The first thing I say is easy come, easy go. That's just a truism of life. And Gallman right now is kind of in an easy come, easy go. Mike Davis is in an easy come, easy go. And even Cordarelle Patterson is in an easy come, easy go. Now, I think the latter there, Patterson has earned a different overview and a different reputation for this season, at least. But as you said, he's probably going to be out. I was leaning away from him already. I've got him in the listener league. I've been waiting to see a little bit of news, but I was going to be leaning to get him out of my lineup anyways, just because of how inconsistent and unclear this offense currently is. Did not have a good week last week with Matt Ryan's career worst game. And it's just a weird system, right? Like we lost Julio, we lost Calvin Ridley for some indefinite reasons a bit. So anyways, though, getting to the meat of the subject, you've got a fantasy team and you're looking to start a Atlanta running back. What should you be looking at? We got Wayne Gallman, we got Mike Davis, we got Cordarelle Patterson. We're leaning away from Cordarelle Patterson. Even if he's active, it's the Patriots do a really good job at taking away your playmakers. Cordarelle Patterson and Pitts, I'd argue, are their two best playmakers right now. So Cordarelle is going to have a target on his back from Bill Belichick in the defense. Don't like that. Pair that along with a wounded ankle, and his ceiling is much lower than it typically would be. Wayne Gallman is the one to consider right now because it's considering for the first time because we hadn't seen him get any work this season. And then on Sunday, Travis comes in and has 15 carries for 55 yards. Also notable considering Mike Davis had 4 rushing attempts, tied a season low. Weird game. Yeah, I know this. But Mike Davis has failed to surpass 20 rushing yards in 3 of his last 4 contests. I don't like that for my starting running back. This was a weird game, as mentioned, got out of hand early, and Gallman's usage was likely tied to that after being a healthy scratch in the previous 2 weeks. But overall, with all this information, I really don't like this. Gallman does have the momentum, and there is logic suggesting he should be the play for the Falcons, given how depressed Mike Davis has been and how arguably well Gallman performed last week. But Davis still hasn't technically lost the job. It could be in everyone's best interest, though, to have him lose that job. It hasn't happened yet, though. Mike Davis had also never really had a strong hold on this role either. It wasn't expected for him to have a super tight grip on it. So Gallman could enter into the mix and have a strong hold come end of season on the starting running back job. We're just in that gestation period. We don't know yet. I would lean away from this if I could, but Cordarelle Patterson being out gives it a little bit more consideration. If you had both, if my prediction, I think Gallman ends up, I think they're close. I think they're close end of the day.
Yeah, I think Patterson probably out. Gallman would provide the most upside for me, I think. I feel like Davis hasn't shown us enough, and I know it's kind of a little bit of a desperate Thursday night thirst situation here, but I do think that Gallman, just based on what they've done this now twice this year where they've tried to get Gallman going, and I think they're kind of fed up with Mike Davis. Now, that is an assumption. That is not something we've heard from the coaches or anything like that, but it's something that I have seen in the tape that I'm kind of leaning towards, so that would be my bet in this one. But as you said, Austin, this is a wait and see for me. I don't really want to be playing any of them outside of Cordarelle Patterson. And even if he goes, that would be a tough start to say. I mean, you basically put it there for us. None of
them are going to fill in for Cordarelle either.
They're just not going to be the way he is because it's just so great. So that's where we're at with this. Guys, we've got over 20 of you rocking with us in the chat right now. We are going to get to all those questions. Appreciate Jersey J and Eagle Fang and all of our true
Mr.
blues.
Blue, what's good?
Yeah, helping everybody get their questions. We are going to definitely get to all these questions, but help us get those likes up. 22 watching right now, only 10 likes. Jam that like button, get the likes up because we're trying to get to 50 on this video. So we'd really appreciate if you guys could help us do that.
It'd be great to rub it in Johnny's face. Would you love it? Johnny, you're gone, bro.
Yeah,
what's up, man?
Your
we got
jawline
likes
couldn't
on the
do
video.
it, bro. Your jawline just couldn't do it. We know. Hey,
with
listen, we know Mr. Miyagi and Eagle Fang and all them missed the jawline. We know Jersey J is for sure missing the jawline.
I missed the jawline, if I'm honest.
Oh, have you been in Discord, Austin? They've been making us basically Eagle Fang's been making us logos. So Johnny has a jawline logo. I have a beard logo. They made you a fireplace logo, also a cardigan logo. So that's kind of what we've got going here.
You got a cardigan logo?
Yeah, they've got a couple
shit.
of them in there. So we got to check it out.
Oh,
guys,
hell yeah.
We appreciate all of you in here. Help us get to 50 likes. Smash that like button as we continue to roll through here. Now, you talked about the backfield. That brings us to these pass catchers here. And we're getting a lot of questions because CPAT could be out. We've had Ridley out. What about these wide receivers? So that's where I'm going to start here. Look, they've kind of been a revolving door here. It was Sharp in week 8 as far as targets are concerned with 6, Gage in week 9 with 8, OZ in week 10 with 7. They have had this kind of whack-a-mole-like production in terms of points for each, clearing 10 PPR points in one of those last 3 games. I don't even know how we could begin to project which one it will be each week just yet. And until one can truly emerge with back-to-back weeks of suggested stuff, none of them are going to be a suggested start. So New England has also turned it on defensively lately, allowing just the 7th fewest points to the position in 2021. So that brings us to our guy, Kyle Pitts, right, Austin?
Yeah.
Pitts now has 7 or more targets. He's cleared 50 yards in 5 of his last 6 games. He's the number 1 tight end in air yard share, number 3 in receiving yardage, number 3 in deep targets, and that's all while only scoring 1 time. He's only got 1 touchdown on the year. 33 other tight ends have more touchdowns than Kyle Pitts. You know what this smells like to me? Massive buy low. Massive buy low. Yes,
buy the dip.
Buying the dip. And then we're going to the moon with Pitts. I love Pitts in this matchup. I know. Look, you talked about it. Bill Belichick can take away your number 1 option. He's done that before. And this could be a game where Pitts is the number 1 option. But I'm rolling in the flames with a guy with this kind of usage because who else are they going to have? This is a game where they're eventually going to need to throw in to get back into it. New England is also tough against the tight end, but Pitts' volume in the passing attack as the one sure thing left, he's got to stay in your lineup. He's the one we have the most confident in as we talk about anyone. And that's going to include Matt Ryan, Austin, who we're asking if we can stream in this one or not.
Worst game of his career last week, Travi. You know, I don't think that he's going to maintain that low level of performance, but it's tough to say he's going to turn it on a dime considering his number 1 option in Calvin Ridley is dealing with mental health. He's not, we don't have a prognosis on this one. His best playmaker is a rookie tight end, you know, who can barely walk into a bar and order a drink legally. We've got the rest of the cast of characters there that have moments, you know, with Gage and Oz and Sharp and these guys, but it's tough to bank on. And considering Ryan isn't carrying the squad, I'm not really feeling good going this week for him. I need to see him right this ship. He's a streaming option, but not for me this week.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I think it's tough to get him in our lineup in any single way because even in the good spots we've had for him, he's really tanked us, and he's kind of gotten it done in bad spots too. So it's just really not projectable at this point. I don't know if that's a word, projectable, but that's just kind of
now, baby.
Yeah, we're rocking with it. Again, 25 of you rocking with us in the chat. We've got about 20 likes. Get those likes up. It's time to start rocking in to these questions, Austin, and we appreciate every single one of you in Whisper Nation rocking with us right now.
Can I jump one in here really quick?
Oh, yeah,
I saw one coming up. We start at the top because we know people like Easy Dowdy was in here an hour before the show asking some questions, and we try to get through those.
Johnny's not here, dude. You do whatever you want. When Johnny's away, Big Travi and Austin will play. All right, let's go, dude.
We will. Right?
we will. I hope Johnny's not watching because he'll shut the program down right now.
Oh my God, he'd log in with the password and change it right there, like change the Google Drive password. But no, I wanted to bring this one up for Mr. Blue, who jumped in here, and we're going to try to get from the top and do them in chronological order. But Mr. Blue came in here and he brought up a real point, and it's a bit of on the heavier subject. It's important, but I think it's really relevant. And it's really relevant to our show, Travis. It's really relevant to the core of the Fantasy Whispers. It's relevant to the core of our league of record. And I would say after all of our conversations with so many incredible industry professionals through the mock draft marathon, we've learned that this is a core tenet among the fantasy football industry. And I would just say the activity of fantasy football flat out. And that is working through a lot of tough spots in life and dealing with things around depression, dealing with things of disconnection and these kinds of things. So Mr. Blue is in here, says, I'm in my 40s now and finally dealing with depression. In my 20s, life was tough, but never thought that stuff. You know, and this is one of those things. He was referencing A.J. Brown in the article I read, said he almost killed himself last year due to depression, would have never guessed him. You have Dak Prescott, you know, who lost a brother.
Calvin Ridley right now taking a step back.
Calvin Ridley taking a step back.
Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, no, we are all recovering and working through the things that we don't talk about. I am, every single person here in Whisper Nation. It's not a question I have to ask. It's just a fact of life. And it is. And we don't really talk about it. And that's a lot of the times, though, why we lean into the fantasy football community. And we've seen something because people care and they're excited and they're about it. And like everyone's going to win and everyone's going to lose. There's a lot of parity built into this game. But we all kind of recognize that. And that's why we have so much fun winning, losing. Even when you lose and it sucks, you get to rally around it. And it's like a lot of energy that comes out. And then there's a network of people that got your back. You know, this network right here, Whisper Nation right here. We talk about it with people all the time. So I just wanted to highlight that for Mr. Blue.
No, I couldn't be happier that Mr. Blue felt comfortable enough to talk about that here in this chat. That means we're fostering a safe spot for people to be able to come in and tell us exactly who they are, and we will love them and try to meet them exactly where they are. And Austin, big on you to pop that up here. This is a fantasy football first show, of course, and platform, but we started playing fantasy football and we continue to play because of the way the community is built, the people we get to play with, and Whisper Nation. You guys are rocking in our Discord, rocking in this chat, rocking with us on Patreon because of the community that we have established. We appreciate every single one of you guys in here, and just always know, like, this isn't just a shameless plug for the Discord. Hop in that Discord. Link is in the description. You'll always have a home in there to talk about whatever you want, and have a home in this chat to talk about whatever you want, as long as you're not hurting other people and you're feeling like you're in a safe and vulnerable situation, because that's what we want to build here. I mean, that's what we're rocking with the brand right now. We built this thing off community, and we hope that you guys can continue to rock with us on that note. Now, Austin, well said, well put together here. Let's talk a little bit about here. Remember, guys, we got nearly 30 of you in the chat right now. 30 of you rocking with us. Get those likes up. We're trying to get to 50 on this video. Just really pee off Jawline Johnny here that he missed the 50 like video. No, it's all love. We have, obviously, as we said, Easy Daddy Eric Zubert says, hey, boys, greetings from your neighbor to the north, Canada. And he's asking, do I start Mack Jones over Kirk Cousins this week? 1 QB, full point PPR scoring. Now, again, we talked about Mack Jones is a potential streamer. I'm not starting him over Kirk Cousins. I just don't see, and Cousins in a bad matchup against Green Bay. Okay, we've been really good against QB, but that's a 49-point over-under. It's supposed to be a close game. It's in Minnesota in the Dome, so we won't have weather affecting it. And we've seen Cousins light up the Packers before, so I think he gets a little bit excited when the Packers and Rodgers come to town. And I just think the upside, the ceiling, right, Austin, here is just so much better with Cousins and his weapons.
I'm giving the ceiling to Kirk Cousins for sure. I think I'm giving the floor play to Mack Jones, though, going up against Atlanta in this matchup, because you're right that Kirk Cousins does have games where he has lit up the Packers, but he also, the most recent game, actually, it was a good 20+ point performance from Kirk Cousins going back to last year. But if you go back to the previous 3, he's also had games where he has double-digit performances against the Packers too. It just has that possibility of going that way. I would be starting Kirk Cousins because I'm a ceiling player in fantasy football. But I do acknowledge Mack Jones's floor going against Atlanta. I think it is higher than Kirk Cousins this week, but it wouldn't change who I would start. But it's not a clear-cut one. It's not 100% for me.
Excellent. I think that's the best way to break that down. Should I put in Stevenson over McKissick, Drake, Patterson if he plays full point PPR scoring? Washington up against Carolina, tough matchup for their receivers. I would actually roll with McKissick in this matchup here. His role in the receiving game is much more solidified than Stevenson's. Even though I do like Stevenson's upside and his goal line work, McKissick is a guy I know I can point to in a few games and not just one recent game where Stevenson was really good. So
McKissick, McKissick plays from behind. He's a great play. If the football team gets behind, he's like an RB2.
And they are underdogs in that game. Carolina have been really good again against the wide receivers on the outside. And so that's why I'm really in on the up the middle stuff. If Logan Thomas were able to go in this game, and McKissick as well over the middle. Jersey J in the chat saying, what's up, Whisper Nation? We've seen you in there rocking. We've got Garrett Crumrine in the chat as well. Thanks, Garrett, for stopping in. He says Dawson Knox or Hunter Henry for a tight end start this week, Austin.
Take a look here at one item here for Dawson Knox. Yeah, I have seen I've seen guys return from injury this season and hit the ground running in surprising fashions. You just talked about Carolina. Christian McCaffrey was one of those players. We talked about David Montgomery 2 weeks ago before the bye, coming in off of his injury, and he was supposed to get like 5 touches. He ended up getting like 14. Khalil Herbert was fully relegated. But this Dawson Knox return was not that. He only had 1 target, 1 catch, 17 yards, but 84% snap percentage. That is his second highest of the entire season, Travis. So he was involved. He was active. He just wasn't involved in the passing attack. Hunter Henry, we talked about how readily involved he has been. Recency bias is a real thing, but it also sometimes it's hollow, but other times it is a suggestion of the trend that's upcoming. And Hunter Henry had his best game of the season with 2 touchdowns last week. I'm going to go Hunter Henry on this one. I recognize Knox has a high ceiling. I mean, he got 117 yards back in week 5, but he hasn't broken 50 yards since then. So I think he's a little bit inflated because he went over on that 4-game touchdown run, weeks 2 through 5. So it's almost like he's a bit of he's kind of like a former man's Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I think that's the good way to put it, because I do think Knox was doing it before it was cool. Knox was doing it at the beginning of this year, but I do think that Dawson Knox as a hold, we don't often say take 2 tight ends, but I think Knox as a hold here, I'd take both of these tight ends and kind of see because a lot of things have changed for the Buffalo offense. They haven't played in a lot of games where they've needed to throw. We'll get down the stretch here and see if they're going to get more competitive matchups, and that could push Knox back up ahead of Henry, because I think he was a guy we're fighting for Henry to get more targets, as you said. Knox was kind of getting a little bit more in the beginning of the year. We'll see how they even out.
Really quick, it's almost like the Bills either in games where they haven't had to throw, or they're in games where they seemingly can't throw.
Yeah.
It's like they're like it's weird.
Yeah, they're a weird squad. They kind of show up when they want to, for sure. Eagle Fang says, "What's up? What's up, Eagle Fang?" He's asking Jersey J if he saw the rest of his artwork. Austin's got to get in there and see.
I got to check this out. I'm stoked, dude.
I'm might be rocking. Mine's like a beard logo. I might be rocking it with Twitter. Who knows? We'll see what's going on here. Appreciate you, Eagle Fang. Jersey J says, "I have the Packers D, but I can grab Washington. What do you think over that play? Would you play Washington against Carolina and Cam Newton, or the Packers D against Kirk Cousins on the road there in Minnesota?"
These are similar spots because, I love the shutout the Green Bay defense put on Seattle last week. I started them in our league of record, enjoyed that. I think the Packers defense is a little bit underrated, and I think they've stepped up with all of these weird question marks surrounding their offense with Aaron Rodgers and COVID, Devontae Adams and COVID, and Lazard, out against the Arizona game. So I like the Packers defense. I think they're better than they're getting credit for, and so normally that would be the answer, but I am interested in to see the X factor for the Carolina Panthers, and that's Cam Newton. It's really whoever's behind center for them. And there's a couple of passes that the Panthers could be going, and Cam Newton is like a really inaccurate quarterback. And if he gets in, he's feeling it. It gets weird. Like, I'm not surprised if Washington takes a pick 6 to the house. But that's what I'm banking on if I start Washington, is something weird going down, like a fumble 6, a ridiculous amount of sacks, something like that, like 5+ sacks, because Cam Newton just is not as efficient as he was with the first 2 carries he had in the game last week.
Right.
With 2 carries, 2 touchdowns. So I think there's a possibility for that, but I think it's the wiser play to play the Packers defense. They've been
really good lately. They've been really on fire. I think I'm going to side with the over under here. And I think both of those games, I think Washington and Carolina muck this game up. And I think I'd rather have the defense in that game than a game where potentially Minnesota and Green Bay could be trading big shots down the stretch here in this game, which could really hurt your defense. You end up with like 4 or 5 points on your defense by the end of it.
How do you call it? Muck it up? I like that. I like a muck it up situation. Weird weather, rookie quarterback, stuff like that.
And I also just think like there's a situation in a dome, like these teams know each other well. They've been in shootouts in the past. Like I think Green Bay's defense is really good. I think they'll play situationally well against Minnesota. But again, that doesn't always equate to fantasy points when we're looking for that as we're going down the stretch here. All right, I want to continue to rock with these questions here as well. We have Stevenson in tonight or Sanders on Sunday, who's returning from injury. I think Sanders is the play, but it's a similar situation, right, where it's a muddled up backfield. We don't know if he's going to really retain the lead back role. Howard's shown well.
They're on opposite sides. They're on the opposite side of this. Stevenson is the number 2, but he came off just a really good game. Sanders is the 1, but his backups have been playing really well.
Right. Yeah, I think Sanders is the play, but I wouldn't be very confident in it. I think there's, Stevenson's in a nice spot with positive game script, but are you going to bank on the 7-point favorites and that he sneaks in for a touchdown over Sanders here?
Who do you think gets more carries in this game? Sanders or Stevenson?
I think Sanders gets more carries. I think Sanders is going to get the start and get around 10 to 15 carries.
And I'm starting Sanders.
And I think Harris is going to get 15 to 20 carries in this game. So I think
I'm
that's
going Sanders.
Yeah. Slim Reaper says, guys, I'm scared to start Pitts tonight. Again, we've talked about how he'll be focused on with Bill Belichick. I get that. Again, the volume probably floats him here. He probably just gets it done volume-wise.
How similar, I'm thinking about it, how similar are Pitts and Hawkinson right now?
Oh, yeah. Pitts, Hawkinson, and Waller, to me, are all extreme buy-low situations based on their volume, based on the lack of touchdowns on the year.
Skill sets.
I just think I think they're all big, buy lows, buy the dip, and they're going to be fine the rest of season. This is a tough matchup for Pitts, but what are you going to do? Pick up somebody off the waivers and start them over Pitts? I don't think you could do that because you wouldn't be able to live with yourself if Pitts got 20 or 15 tonight on your bench. Eagle Fang says, I might roll Mack Jones tonight, but I still feel like it could be a trap game. Again, I think, we talk about them being 7-point favorites. They could easily get up through the backs. They could easily get up 2 touchdowns through Damian Harris, and then Mack Jones is getting you a 9-point game. I believe
that's what Belichick wants.
Yeah. He doesn't want Mack Jones to be winning him the game at all.
No,
Oscar the Grouch saying, I think Pitts will be fine tonight if the game is in Atlanta. It is in Atlanta. Eagle Fang saying, Austin, sweet fireplace.
Thank you.
Jersey J says, I got a real question, Waller or Arnold, my boys. I'm sticking with Waller. Go over to Patreon or go over to Spotify and get the matchup show. It's going to be out here in the next couple of days, and we'll be talking about Waller a little bit more there as well. But really big things coming. Mr. Miyagi, Tua or Mac freaking Jones, asking for a friend because I have Dak Prescott. So he's truly asking for a friend here. Tua or Mac Jones. Man, this one is tough. I do think Tua is a good streamer. Tua. Yeah, and I think Tua is the answer here. I think Tua's ceiling is a little bit better.
Against the Jets? I like it.
Yeah. Miles Sanders will have a great second half if the Eagles keep running.
I think so too.
I agree with that. Oscar the Grouch, Tua, because what is this? May is out and they're
Mack.
Mack, yeah. I don't think it's Mack.
Yeah.
Must be a defensive player. Oscar the Grouch, Flacco is starting. Flacco is starting, so Miami will get to face the Jets defense and a lot, and they will get tired. Yeah, I mean, look here. I think that's a sneaky play here. We talked about this on the last show. We talked about how the Jets or Miami's a good play against the Jets, but they're still only 3-point favorites in that game. So I think they could muck that up a little bit as well. ML Patriots 24-23. He's calling his shot there. KJ says full point PPR pick 2. Austin Stevenson, Darrell Williams, Ingram, or Collins. Update on Alvin Kamara missing practice again today after practicing yesterday. So,
Ingram's in. Is CEH coming back? Is that for sure?
They don't know. They said they could let him wait another week.
That's another week?
I'm not sure, yeah.
If that is the case, I'm going the middles. I'm going Darrell Williams and Ingram. If CEH is in, I'm going to go with his last 2. Chris Carson's not looking good.
I think Collins is a nice play here. Instead of getting thirsty and starting Stevenson's, wait to see what the backfield shakes out for both of those teams, and Collins your backup in case something happens funky there. Oscar the Grouch is Falcons 28-3. That's a good one.
I'd love that.
KJ full point PPR pick 1, Bateman, Landry, or Tony. I'm starting Bateman again. This is a nice plug for the Spotify. Get over there and get the podcast for the matchup podcast, because Bateman has been on a mini breakout here over the last month, really putting up points here for that team. And this is, I think this is another situation. And look at Marquise Brown's thigh hasn't been practicing. So if he misses, for sure, I want Bateman as a big play here.
8 targets last 2 weeks, 6 catches last week for 80 yards for the rookie. Like that.
Yeah. Eagle Fang, does Murray play? The Cardinals have a bye next week. They may want to keep him out one more week. So Murray's been practicing this week, and then he told people that he was close. Rappaport said, well, their bye is next week. This is a divisional game, one that Vegas thinks will be close. I don't know exactly why, because Seattle doesn't look good to me, but it's in Seattle, and divisional record can count in your tiebreaker. So I do think that Arizona could be a little bit pressured to play him. That's about my only guess I have on it.
I think they're pressured to play him.
Yeah,
I don't know if they will, though.
The performance against Carolina, they've had one game where they didn't need him and one game where they missed him dearly. What do we think happens here?
Here's the thing. You need Kyler Murray's playmakeability to be a part of the Cardinals offense if they're going to be a top 3 power ranked team, as they've enjoyed for the majority of the season. But if Kyler Murray's ankle isn't working, then you don't have Kyler Murray's playmakeability. So it doesn't matter. Like, you can't put in a 70% Kyler Murray and have him do what he does. Like he is a spaceship. He can take you to the moon, but if you have one thing that's a little bit off, it might blow up there on the takeoff pad. So
would you say he's a rocket man?
I would say he's a rocket man. I'd say I like calling him a rocket squirrel. I think that's what he is there. But
rocket squirrel, dude.
I mean, he's a great thrower though too. But you're right. Like they have the pressure on. They're not going to be the same team without him. They carried one game, then they got embarrassed against Carolina. I watched Kyler Murray have a 3rd and 17 play in front of him, and he got the first down with his legs, and it was so demoralizing for the defense. And that's the kind of thing that sets up big plays for the Cardinals to be just like walloping their defenses over the course of a game. If he can't do that, though, it's a different dynamic. So I think they should rest him, but I think they're going to really want to, which is a bullshit answer, but it's the truth.
I hope they play him. Obviously, we've got pass catchers we want to upgrade in that situation, but yeah, I think he might. I'm leaning towards him playing. We'll know. It's the afternoon game, so we should know a little bit more. They've been ruling him out pretty early too, so we should know a little bit more. Jersey J, would you trade Gaskin and Waddle for Barkley? Yes. Or Gaskin and Judy for Barkley? Yes. Are you okay with both of these? Thanks, bros. It's a full point PPR,
especially if you're winning a winning record.
Especially absolutely. I just think it's a situation where you basically avoided the liability of holding on to Barkley, and your league mate did. So you get to cash in on him coming back.
Bro, I can't stress this enough. Empty roster spots on your team are good. Like especially this time of the year when we're going to have a new running back be an RB1 or, be the RB1 for their team that we don't yet know about. It just happens every season. And you want to have a waiver wire spot available on your team. So like, I love this.
So Juan asking a tough question here. Renfrow is a free agent. Would you drop Mike Williams, who had an absolute tear, for Hunter Renfrow, who has not scored lower than 10 points in PPR except for one game this year, Austin?
He also hasn't broken 60 yards since week 3.
Right. It's it's the Renfrow conundrum. Is he just destined to let us down when we count on him the most, or is it real what's happening here? And would you be buying the dip on Mike Williams? Do you think better days are ahead? Because Williams has also seen dip in targets that were helping him be.
Yes, the answer is yes. Better days are ahead for Mike Williams. This is cyclical. That's how these things move. Like I wasn't buying Mike Williams as a top 5 wide receiver a handful of weeks ago. We got the tape on that one, but I did. He's volatile. He's always been volatile. He's a 27-year-old, 6'4" wide receiver in his 5th year. This is like what he's always done, barring health. He's healthy. The Chargers are a little bit funky, but like, they're going to keep throwing the ball. Big Mike Williams is a good option. He's involved. 95% snap share last week, 90%, 83% the last 2 weeks there. So like he's there. I believe it comes around from him. He has a higher ceiling than Renfrow. This is like the most clear, like higher floor for Renfrow, higher ceiling for Mike Williams. I said earlier in the show, I'm a ceiling type of player. Give me Mike Williams. Give me the possibility of a 25-point game, Travis.
Yeah, I think it's especially at the wide receiver position, which is so like up and down as it is. Like you definitely want to pack a punch for the most time. Like it would obviously depend on your lineup construction, but for me, I think Williams is the answer as well. AJ Dillon or DJ Moore? AJ Dillon is the answer
for DJ Moore.
Oh, AJ Dillon for DJ Moore. So Dillon's a hold, or I mean, sorry, DJ Moore is a hold for me, but I wouldn't go trading for him right now, especially for a piece like Dillon. So here's the thing about Dillon. Not only could it be 2 weeks, but the bye for the Packers is in a couple weeks. So I think that actually Jones comes back, but how much of Dillon's work will have to actually stay within the game if he's able to go out there and produce. We've already seen him be a nuisance already to Aaron Jones a little bit. And now if he gets a couple games where he's the guy and is able to perform, I'm holding Dillon. I think he's
there's every reason in the book for AJ Dillon to have a phenomenal month of football up ahead. It makes a ton of sense from a Green Bay Packers perspective for them setting up not only their position for the playoffs, but also to get Aaron Jones right. Like these two guys play really well together. Dillon, though, can handle the load. They're a better offense when Jones is available, but they want him available for the playoffs. They don't care about your fantasy playoffs.
Right. Williams dropped a touchdown last week to that previous question, so there still is that upside. Eric Saldana saying, I traded Cooper and Cordarelle Patterson for Devontae Adams. Win or loss? Excellent win here. You definitely
boom.
We love that. Get a huge W, says Jersey J.
Freaking love that trade.
Yeah, so did many other wide receivers, says Jersey J. Renfrow is way more consistent. Renfrow didn't drop a touchdown last week. He caught one, and he caught one the week before. So, but I still think Williams is the answer.
I don't like his 9.5 yards per catch.
Jersey J. He was Mr. Blue came in here. We're rocking and rolling. Asked if Austin did a few rails.
No, I didn't.
No.
I did have a little bit of sugar-free Monster.
Yeah,
though.
we got the Monster. Love the Thursday night thirst tag, says Eric Zuber. Yeah, we love getting a little thirsty tonight for that Monster and for football as well. Jersey J says Chubb needs to play this week. If he doesn't, I have Pollard, McKissick, Ingram, and could pick up Hines and Wilson Jr.
I like Ingram.
Yeah, I like Ingram here. I don't think you need to drop any of these guys. Wilson Jr. could be could not even be anything, or could just be a 1 week rental, if that, and that's not something. I think all these other guys have a little bit of a role you want to keep on your team. Rock with Ingram. Groggy Style says, Pat's D in my Thursday thirst. I love the matchup against Atlanta tonight. Yeah, it looks like a good one here as heavy favorites on the road.
Matt Ryan coming off the worst game of his career.
Groggy Style says, likes for Johnny here. Yeah,
that's right. We're in likes for Johnny. These are all likes for Johnny. That's right.
Give that like. They deserve it. That's right, guys. We got over 30 of you guys watching with us. Hit that like button. We're trying to get up over 50 likes. We're at about 26 right now, so help us out here.
We want to rub it in the face of our co-host who's off.
Jersey J says, I miss that Diamond Jawline. Johnny Jawline Hicks. It's taken over. We might be taking over here.
Jaw time.
Mr. Fang, or Mr. Miyagi saying Eagle Fang doing work.
I can't wait to see those, dude. That's incredible.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Cardigan in the fireplace? Are you freaking kidding me? I'll take.
They have another one where like you're wearing a cardigan kind of, but you have glasses on, so it doesn't make as much sense, and you have a little mustache.
I used to have a mustache.
Yeah, so it's kind of like rocking with that, but we'll see what happens here. AJ Brown in an article. Oh, yeah, we talked about Mr. Blue and the mental health and the importance of mental health, leaning into your community, because you are not alone out there, you guys. So just remember that. Austin's Zoom background is amazing, so lifelike.
It's freaking real, dude.
Yeah, he's got to get out of. Oh, yeah, he's just going to go take a seat here. Take a seat next to the fire. There's his cat over there. We love it. Mr. Miyagi saying Bill going to take away Kyle Pitts. That is the concern, but we're keeping Pitts in our lineup because the waiver is not going to provide something with more upside. How will Brown be moving forward? 1 point last week. Yeah, this one is a tough one, but again, played Marshawn Lattimore and Jalen Ramsey over the last 2 weeks. Houston does not have anybody with that kind of caliber. I think we're okay with A.J. Brown rolling him out here this week.
He might be more of a matchup play, though. Like tough defenses, you might be tempering expectations for A.J. Brown despite the presumed opportunity.
So, Mr. Blue, interesting here. I really like the Thursday nighter tonight. Probably best, I feel, with doing a showdown. Basically saying that we all think the Falcons get trumped here, but the Falcons would come out and get a win. That's kind of how the Falcons are. So I could see that. I could see this being a pretty good game. Slim Reaper saying, really hope Bill doesn't scheme out Pitts, but highly unlikely, though. Yeah,
he's
we
talked
talked about that for sure. We talked about Johnny changing the password on us. The password is Jawline. Hey. Oh, man. 100% last 2 years have been rough. Yeah. So people agreeing about what's going on in the world, but hopefully you guys can find a little bit of solace here with us, Whisper Nation, as we do as well. You guys pump us up and keep us going. Yeah.
Like we will, you, me, Johnny, everybody else on the team. And then in Whisper Nation, I just love the community that's here, and they got each other's backs. We do all that we can, but like to have such a large network, it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jersey J saying this community is an uplifting place, and he would know because look at that picture, man. He's been lifting a lot, dude. He knows about lifting up, dude. He knows. Go on, King. We mad love for you guys. Mad love for you, Mr. Blue. Freak Stomper 49er with Gallup's contract ending after the season. Is Cedric Wilson someone you'd stash next year in Dynasty? I think that's an interesting take here. We've got Dak under contract. Obviously, the big dog's under contract here. You wonder how much of CeeDee Lamb's progression, what happens with Cooper. They can cheaply get rid of his contract. So, yeah, maybe Wilson is a guy to stash in Dynasty. I at least just see how this plays out next year.
Yeah, why not?
Gus Ramos with a you got a friend in me. Absolutely.
What's up, Gus?
Evan saying pick 3, half-point PPR. Cooks, Amari Cooper, Waddle, Damian Harris. Awesome.
Ooh. Okay. This is a nice set of options here. In a half-point PPR, I almost want to keep Damian Harris out because he's the only one that I'm really putting question marks on, but he should be a lead back who's been kicking ass this season. Top 10 rushing grade. So I'm going to keep Damian Harris in there. I want to take him out, but my better judgment says keep Damian Harris in the mix. I think it's an Amari Cooper. I mean, barring health on this one,
Right.
any reason to fade away on Amari Cooper? I mean, it was 4
No, and
targets, 4 catches last week, 51
yeah,
yards. Not great,
obviously
not bad.
he's been up and down. And we've talked about this before. But this is a great matchup. It's a massive over under 55 or 54.5 against the Chiefs, who have been really bad against the wide receiver. This smells like a game that Cooper, CeeDee Lamb get home. Dak has a big one. A big game that is, and we have a situation where like this is a good for the offense. So I like I like Cooper and Cooks and Harris in this one. I think in PPR.
I do too. Waddle's, I don't mind Waddle this week with Tua, and week 6 through 8 with Tua and Waddle, they had a great rapport, great action that happened. I think I just got to fade the inconsistency and presumed volatility of a rookie wide receiver who doesn't have a great yards per reception there in Jalen Waddle. Yeah.
Right. I'm with you there. Pick 2 says Aladdin, Collins, Stevenson, Collins, Emmanuel Sanders, Singletary, Mike Davis. So I'm taking Collins here.
Me
I
too.
think Alex Collins set up pretty nicely in that game.
Yep.
And then it would be between Stevenson, I think, and Emmanuel Sanders.
There's what the heck flex in Sanders.
Right. I mean, what are we like? Are you praying for Sanders to get home, even though it's been up and down, or you think Stevenson has a good shot to plunge in for a touchdown or have enough receiving work in this game against Atlanta?
See, I was just talking with Chris Hannon about Emmanuel Sanders. He's the definition of a what the heck flex to me. So for Whisper Nation here, we've got essentially 3 categories for our flex players. Like 4 outside of a standard one, but we have a less desperate flex. That's when you get like, oh, I gotta play Mike Davis in my flex. Cordarelle Patterson is out. What do you think about that? I think it makes him a less desperate flex, but he's still a desperation kind of play. Then you have sneaky flex. That's when you get like, oh, DeAndre Hopkins is out. I think Christian Kirk is going to get a lot of volume and he's going to do good work with it. That's a sneaky flex. Then you got a what the heck flex. And Emmanuel Sanders to me is like the definition of a what the heck flex. Look, man, he's got about 17 yards per catch. That's awesome. He's in on the field on around 80% of snap percentages, clear number 2 there. I like that. But yardage totals, just going backwards, 27, 65, 91, 54, it's just like it's up and down and up and down. 2 catches, 4 catches, 5 catches, 3 catches. You need him to get it. It's a very low floor, but he has a high ceiling based on that. So he's just a straight up what the heck flex for me. And I think given this sampling, I'm going to take his what the heck flex over some of the other ones because the upside Emmanuel Sanders brings based on his play style and his role on the offense.
Yeah, I'm with you on there. I think Sanders is the right call, just pure upside. I mean, and then you're just swinging for that in your flex most times anyways, because that could help win you the week. So I do like that a lot. Do it 420, half point PPR, Tyler Boyd, Robbie Anderson, or Sterling Shepard if he plays. Boyd would be the answer for me in a half point PPR. That game against Vegas set up to be kind of a shootout. Shepard, I don't know if he's going to go, and it's Monday night. You won't have a lot of time to know. Robbie Anderson's just kind of I think he's just basically on his way out as far as relevance at all, if he's even relevant at this point.
Now, see what happens with Cam Newton, but it'd be like trying to hit a dartboard in the dark.
Right.
Like right now.
Mack Jones or Russell Wilson. I'm going Russell Wilson, even though he's had the shaky start, even though it's a bad matchup against the Cardinals. Again, a decent over-under, and he usually plays the Cardinals pretty well, at least as far as a fantasy standpoint, so I like that. Mr. Miyagi says, I'm wearing a Mack Jones jersey right now, but you are chasing your own tail by starting Mack this week. Well, that just shows you either have the anti-bias for being a Pats fan, or you're just saying it how it is. And he, like we said, hasn't hit over 20 points in all.
They don't want him to
game,
be that type of dude. Like Belichick is smart. He's going to play to his strengths, and that's not having him throw the ball 40 times.
Steve Berry asking, welcome to the chat, Steve Berry. Appreciate you.
What's up, Steve?
With us. What you think about Russell Wilson versus QBs like Tannehill or Derek Carr this week? I mean, I'm still rolling Russell Wilson. I just think the upside is still there, and I think he had a bad game, and nobody likes to put bad games behind him more than like a guy like Russell Wilson, who's just a consistent.
He's a player.
Yeah.
Competitor.
A. Aladdin asking Pitts or Dawson Knox. I believe we answered this earlier. We're rolling with Pitts here. Mack Jones or Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson for you, Manir and N. A. Aladdin, I have Tannehill. Should I pick up Fields or Mack Jones for a QB2? I'd go with Fields. I think Fields has been heating up lately. I like him as a stash for the rest of the season. And sneakily, the Ravens have been giving up 19.8 points per game to the position. They're now a top 10 matchup. The Ravens kind of been bleeding a little bit of points. Last week, they let kind of Tua get in only a half of football, get some points against him in that game. I think Baltimore could be a sneaky streamable spot here, and I actually think I might like Fields' upside more than Tannehill's floor here.
I like Fields over all these guys right now. Rushing wise, 45 yards, 103 yards, 38 yards, 43 yards over the last month of football. 20 fantasy points and 27 fantasy points and 6-point passing touchdowns for Fields the last 2 weeks. He's on the up.
Half-point PPR, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, or Darnell Mooney. Thank you. Going with Bateman here. His consistency over the last month is a lot better than some of these guys right now. So and again, with Marquise Brown and the thigh situation, something to monitor there as well. If Kyler plays, are you playing him over Carr and Hurts Superflex? Hurts
over Hurts?
Maybe. I would actually.
You just got Hurts, man. What do you think?
This is tough because I don't think it's a good spot for Hurts. It's a tough game. It's a matchup against New Orleans, but I do think it's going to be like New Orleans front against the run. Like, I don't know if you can assume rational coaching with Nick Sirianni. We've said this already, but if the Eagles are smart, they're not going to try and run on the Saints. Like, that's how they've been doing it, but they shouldn't. And I actually think this could be a sneaky Hurts game, but I'm still playing Kyler over all these guys in a super flex for sure. Mm-hmm. Would you play Robbie Anderson or Tyler Lockett? Gus, really emphatic about this. We're playing Tyler Lockett, man. Same floor is Robbie Anderson, and Tyler Lockett has a ceiling that, few wide receivers have with Russ in the lineup. Alex R., Uzuma or Freiermuth, Austin?
The Muth. Uzuma was a cool story. Freiermuth is being leaned on, though, with Juju out. I like Freiermuth so much more than Uzuma moving forward this weekend otherwise.
Jersey J, they're asking for his workout video out there. Get it done, Jersey J. Send it in. Evan Gettleman asking, would you trade Amari Cooper for DeAndre Hopkins? I wish I knew more about Hopkins' return and when it's going to be, but I think this is the right deal. You buy low. If you're a win record, I think you do this deal and you save Hopkins for the playoff stretch, especially after their bye. But the hamstrings concern me, and if he's continuing to miss time, I think it's the right call. I think you trade.
Cooper's had hamstring issues too.
Yeah,
it's like
he's just in a superior athlete. He plays through. No,
exactly. Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah.
Whoever is running the Jets must be a comedian. Starting Joe Flacco over White, the same White who had an amazing game only 3 games ago. Yeah, but he hasn't really done much since then. So I don't mind.
Like 4 interceptions.
Yeah, he hasn't been that great. The Jets are a joke. How do I get them to answer your question? Evan, I believe we just did, so I appreciate you hanging with us as we rock through this.
Just so anyone knows, you want to jump the gun? You hit us with that super chat. Well, we're going to go in chronological order from the way they came in, unless they're relevant to the fantasy topic at hand, and we catch them. But when they've stacked up, we're going to work all the way down through them. And if you want to jump the line, though, hit us with a super chat. You get the Ric Flair woo that comes as a bonus.
Half-point PPR, AJ Green, Brian Edwards, or Amon-Ra St. Brown. So this is a caveat. If Kyler plays, I'm playing AJ Green. If he doesn't play, I'm playing Brian Edwards. And that would be because with Ruggs gone, Edwards has kind of seen a little bit of deep shots in that offense and finally got home last week. Mm-hmm. Pollard or Wilson Jr. If Mitchell goes, again, a caveat here, Eagle Fang, if Mitchell goes, then I'm playing Pollard. If he doesn't go, then I'm playing Wilson Jr. I think that's the spot to go with there. Who is your 2 sleeper showdown picks for tonight? 1 guy each, Atlanta and Patriots. So I think my sleeper for the Patriots would be Jacoby Myers in the slot because of what CeeDee Lamb just did to the Falcons in the slot. Mm-hmm. My sleeper for the Falcons, this is kind of weird. It feels like an out. I'd actually take Mike Davis as the sleeper. Actually, no, I'm going to stick with my gut here. I'd take Gallman as the sleeper for the Falcons because I think they're trying to they're working him into the lineup. So I would take that Gallman as the sleeper, Jacoby Myers. What about you, Austin?
I am going to go with – I can't call Hunter Henry a sleeper pick because he's the top 3 tight end right now. I am going to go with – I think Rhamondre Stevenson is the sleeper. I was going to go Jacoby Myers, but I'm not going to take it because that's the one you picked.
I like Stevenson
I'm going to go Stevenson, and then on the Falcons side of the ball, I'm going to go Russell Gage.
Ooh, I like
as
that.
A sneaky one player. They might have to play, they might have to throw. He's still like he's the number 1, even though he's not, but he is, and that could mean he gets a handful of targets and a handful of yards and maybe a touchdown.
Eric Saldana asking, should I stick with James Conner as my RB2 or trade for another running back? I'm thinking Javonte, Hunt, Gibson, or trade Waller for an RB1. If you have a good tight end to back up Waller, I don't mind trading for an RB1. I always like doing that deal. If you can get a running back that's a RB1 for a good tight end, you do that deal most times. But I like James Conner, and I like him the rest of the season, even with Chase Edmonds coming back. Like, he's a guy, he's going to be a league winner for a lot of people because we drafted him so late. We didn't think he was going to be the guy, and he scores pretty much every game at this rate.
Why would they give Chase Edmonds the full load when he comes back? He's shown that he can do it. We were concerned about that in the first place, and Connor has flown with the opportunity.
Yeah. Mr. Blue says he's jealous of that fireplace, Austin.
It's nice.
Let's see. Ayuk or DJ Moore, Austin?
Man, I'm going to go with if I sitting there and I have to make a start between the two of them there. Well, I'd like to see a little bit more on the clarity in Carolina on this one. But Ayuk actually has the arrows pointing up. Debo is the number one. He's the alpha, but Ayuk should still be involved over there. DJ Moore and Cam Newton actually have really nice rapport. And if we see more Cam Newton involved, I think we're going to see an uptick for DJ Moore. I just wouldn't call that shot, though, first week, how many bad weeks we've seen out of DJ Moore. I'd go with Ayuk.
Dawson Knox asks Silver Badger, Dawson Knox, Tyler Conklin, or Gronk. I'm going to go, if we can get word that Gronk is back, I would go with Gronk. If you know that by Saturday, go with it. If not, I'm going to roll with Dawson Knox here. I just think he's the better play than Conklin here. He might be.
Yeah, Conklin needs touchdowns.
Yeah. Travi, isn't your birthday in a few days? It may or may not be tomorrow. Can't confirm or deny that. Jersey J, I'm sorry. Nick, Giants getting healthy again. Can Golladay come back and be relevant? I stashed Golladay in a couple leagues. It's a hard pressed. We're hard pressed to think that he will, but they paid him a lot of money. He does a lot of the things that Daniel Jones does well as far as get down the field and be able to hit that player. And he's healthy again. So we'll see what happens. I think he's worth a stash right now. Chandler asking, start Stevenson or Dame Harris?
Dame Harris. Who said this one?
Yeah, this is the one here. Let's see. The Eagles will abandon the run as soon as it does not work. 3 plays in a row. They always do that, and they always have. Ronald sounds like a concerned Eagles fan. I got no love for Edwards, he says. Let's see. Is 5 half-point PPR, Komet or Troutman? Thank you. This is an interesting one.
Oh, this is an interesting one. I think I'm going to go Troutman.
Yeah. I would agree with that as well. Would you drop Sutton for A-Rob or Tony? I'd keep on to Sutton. They're going into their bye right now. He's put some good stuff on tape. I know Judy's a mess with his target share, but he is the more prototypical alpha wide receiver than Judy. I just think he's worth a hold here. And A-Rob's not getting it done. Tony is interesting. I mean, Tony's upside's great, but again, Kenny Golladay getting healthy again. Shepard could come back, and that offense just is not really that.
A-Rob and Sutton are really similar. We've just seen Sutton do it already a handful of times this season. We haven't seen A-Rob do it at all.
Quarterback. That's exactly. Yeah, it's like I can't get behind that. So
I know Judy's over there, but A-Rob's got Mooney as well to deal with.
Eric says, what? Travi and I have the same birthday.
Oh, shit, really?
Bros. What's up, Eric? Appreciate you. Happy birthday tomorrow, my brother. Jersey J and the Seahawks defense worth a stream if Kyler is out. I actually do like that play. I think they've buttoned it up. Yeah. They'll be at home. Colt McCoy hasn't been very consistent. I like that. Aladdin, is Devontae Booker worth a pickup? Barkley is injury prone. Yeah, I mean, if you have the bench spot, we always talk about picking up the backup, and making sure you try to ride with that. All right, Austin, that does it for us in the Thursday night preview show. If you want the rest of the preview show, make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast, or you get over to patreon.com/the Fantasy Whispers. You'll get the full video there as well. And you can also hit the website up. The rankings are now live. You can also hit us up on YouTube where you're watching right now and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Come on an hour and a half before.
Did we did one more sneak in here, Travi?
Yeah.
Catch at the end of the closing?
I was just going to get that closed out.
What's up, Buck?
Buck's asking, is DPJH a better choice over Kenyon Drake full point? I think this is Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know if the H is just extra. Full point PPR. I'd go Drake. I think Drake's a better play than Peoples-Jones.
New coaching staff. It might be a totally different algorithm dividing the backfield there for the Raiders.
Absolutely. And so get subscribed to the YouTube channel, folks, and get with us an hour and a half before kickoff. For Austin Sear, I'm Big Travi. We're the Fantasy Whispers. And we are out of here. I got to try and find this outro.
Bye. I'm like, what are we doing right now, man? This is kind of
right here. Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Whispers matchup breakdown episode. If you want a specific start-sit question answered, just make sure you join us live 90 minutes before kickoff on the Fantasy Whispers YouTube channel. And if you want to join Whisper Nation, as well as get special Discord access, get signed up for our monthly jersey and card giveaways, as well as extra access to extra content, make sure you check us out on Patreon, where you can get access to all of that. That's www.patreon.com/The Fantasy Whisperers.